Welcome to lectures and interviews about leadership for sustainability. I'm Bruce Hull.
Evolution. The theory of evolution and the implications of evolution are deeply contested. Just to mention the word can start an argument. Evolution. In this session, I want to talk about how people misinterpret evolution and use those misinterpretations in debates about sustainable development. Let's begin by looking at some polls by Gallup. This graph shows over 30 years of data from Gallup, where they've been polling U.S. citizens about their beliefs in evolution. And you can see they haven't changed too much. The beliefs haven't changed, but they still are deeply polarized. The top line represents the most popular belief that humans were created in their present form, pretty much as described in the Judeo-Christian Bible. This is sometimes called the New Earth belief because it suggests that Earth began, life on Earth anyways, about 6,000 years ago, back in the Garden of Eden. The middle line, the bright green line, is the so-called Old Earthers, believe that Earth and life on it is 4 or 5 billion years, pretty much old. It's just pretty much as science suggests, but that evolution has been guided by an intelligent designer, by a supernatural, to eventually lead to humans, so that genetic mutations and other things that have occurred over time have led to the creation of humans as made in God's image. The dark green line, the bottom line, are people that believe in Darwinian evolution. And you can see that is the least popular belief. It ranges from 9 to something like 22% over time. So let's discuss what is Darwinian evolution and why it's so objectionable. Here is a picture of Charles Darwin and his theory, which is really straightforward. It's just these 3 simple points to me. It's first that if you look around, you'll see that within any species, like look at dogs or look at humans, there are differences. There are subtle differences among the individuals in a species. And some of those differences result in some advantage. They're tested by natural selection, by the conditions of the environment. The people eat better or they reproduce faster or whatever it is that gives them an advantage. And that advantage results ultimately in more offspring. That is, their genes get passed forward and those genes eventually swamp out all the other alterations. So those are the ones we see in the fossil record, the ones that survived to reproduce. There's nothing in here about being smart or strong or fast or sexy or even competitive. You could be cooperative. All that counts is that you produce lots of offspring. That's the essence of Darwin's theory, is that there are differences among individuals within a species. Some of those differences create advantages, and those advantages result in producing more offspring. He didn't know about genes and mutation and all that sort of thing, but he was a great observer. So why is evolution so contentious? Evolution challenges our creation story. It suggests that we are not made in the image of our God, but rather we're accidents of history. According to evolution, there's just too much chance for humans to be destined. If somehow we could go back in time and do it all over again and film it from the very beginning, some 4 billion years ago when life on Earth first started, and see all the mutations, all the randomness, all the random tests of plate tectonics and new species and gene mutations. There's just so much randomness that there's no way that evolution would lead to us. Yes, it might lead to intelligence. It would lead to the ability to see things and hear things and mobility and find food and defend oneself. But those attributes would not produce the human species. It might produce something that looked a bit like us and had intelligence, but it would not result in us. Humans would not be the star of creation. We might not even be bit players in the movie of evolution. And that hurts our ego. With all that as background, I want to take you back to the sustainability values diagnostic and discuss why misperceptions about evolution disrupt sustainability debates. You can see from the polling here that people are pretty divided. Almost 30% of people strongly agree that survival of the fittest, that evolution has somehow given humans the right, the privilege to manage the rest of nature. So when we're debating which future we want to have and what to sustain, this argument about our right, about humans' right, about evolution gives us the right to decide, that gets in the way. And it disrupts the debate. Let me explain why it's a misperception and why it's misused. I suspect you've seen some figures like this which depict the biodiversity, organize all the species over time, and the one on the left is probably the most familiar. It's the tree of life. It suggests that evolution started at the base and it produced all these branches, and then right there at the tippy top, it led to humans. That's us. That's human, right there at the very top. The one on the right's a little bit less egotistical. It arranges things in the circle of life and suggests right there we're just one of many other species. And this is probably a more accurate reflection of biodiversity. Evolution does not suggest that it led to us. Rather, it just suggests we're one of many different species. Not better, not worse. Just different. Just special. Like everything else. Here's another common misperception, that somehow humans evolved from other primates, that they stopped evolving and we just continued. Well, that's not what evolution suggests. If you look at how the branches off of the primates, you'll find that humans descended and started to evolve differently about 5 million years ago. Bonobos, the guy on the left, that species started to evolve about 2 million years ago. So they're actually more recently evolved, more recently descended. Right? All these branches, all the species along these branches have continued to evolve. So we didn't evolve from them, we evolved with them. They're our cousins on the evolutionary journey. Okay, to wrap up, evolution presents a challenging creation story for many people because it suggests that first we weren't created by a supernatural, by God, in their image. Instead, we're accidents of history. We're just sort of assemblage of random events, that we're not even the best evolved or the most recent evolved. All species have continued to evolve. We're all special. Importantly, when we get in debates about sustainable development, humans can't justify their dominance of the biosphere and their management of all other species based upon evolution, that somehow humans have the right because they're the best or most recently evolved. That's not what evolutionary science suggests. In fact, it suggests that we're related to all other species, something like 47% of the same DNA as yeast, 74% the same as earthworms, and of course 95% or so the same DNA as chimpanzees. So when we're in those difficult discussions about what sustainable development should look like, about what parts of nature we should maintain on Earth, let's not deflect and degrade the conversation by throwing in bombs from evolution to suggest that somehow evolution gives us the right to do whatever we want. We need to come up with some other logic. We need to be more respectful of each other and of the biota.